Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are doing more Greek mythology. So, yeah, we are going to pick up where I left off last episode. We had just talked about how the versions of mankind came into being. So, anyway. These two stories of the creation, the story of the 5 ages and the story of Prometheus and Epimetheus, different as they are, agree on one point. For a long time, certainly throughout the happy golden age, only men were upon the earth. There were no women. Zeus created these later in his anger at Prometheus for caring so much for men. Prometheus had not only stolen fire from men, he had also arranged that they should get the best part of any animal sacrificed, and the gods the worst. He cut up a great ox and wrapped the good eatable parts in the hide, disguising them further by pulling entrails on top. Beside this heap, he put another of all the bones, dressed up with cunning and covered with shining fat, and bade Zeus choose between them. Zeus took up the white fat and was angry when he saw the bones craftily tricked out. But he had made his choice and had to abide by it. Thereafter, only fat and bones were burned to the gods upon their altars. Men kept the good meat for themselves, but the Father of men and of gods was not one to put up with this sort of treatment. He swore to be revenged on mankind first and then on mankind's friend. He made a great evil for men, a sweet and lovely thing to look upon, in the likeness of a shy maiden, and all the gods have her gifts: silvery raiment and a broidered veil, a wonder to behold, and bright garlands of blooming flowers and a crown of gold. Great beauty shone out from it. Because of what they gave her, they called her Pandora, which means the gift of all. When this beautiful disaster had been made, Zeus brought her out, and wonder took hold of the gods and men when they beheld her. From her, the first woman, comes the race of women who are an evil no men with a nature to do who are an evil to men with a nature to do evil. Another story about Pandora is that the source of all misfortune was not her wicked nature, but only her curiosity. The gods presented her with a box into which each had put something harmful, and forbade her ever to open it. Then they sent her to Epimetheus, who took her gladly, although Prometheus had warned him never to accept anything from Zeus. He took her, and afterward, when that dangerous thing, a woman, was his, he understood how good his brother's advice had been. For Pandora, like all women, was possessed of a lively curiosity. She had to know what was in the box. One day she lifted the lid, and out the plagues innumerable, sorrow and mischief for mankind. In terror, Pandora clapped the lid down, but too late. One good thing, however, was there: hope. It was the only good the casket had held among the many evils, and it remains to this day mankind's sole comfort in misfortune. So mortals learned that it was not possible to get the better of Zeus or even deceive him. The wise and compassionate Prometheus, too, found that out. When Zeus had punished men by giving them women, he turned his attention to the arch sinner himself. The new ruler of the gods owed Prometheus much for helping him conquer the other titans, but he forgot his debt. Zeus and his servants, force and violence, seize him and take him to the Caucasus, or Caucasus, where they bound him to a high, piercing, headlong rock in adamantine chains that none can break. And they told him, "Forever shall the intolerable present grind you down, and he who will release you is not born. Such fruit you reap for your man-loving ways. A god yourself, you did not dread God's anger, and gave to mortals honor not their due. And therefore you must guard this joyless rock. No rest, no sleep, no moment's respite. Groans shall your speech be, lamentation your only words." The reason for inflicting this torture was not only to punish Prometheus, but also to force him to disclose a secret very important to the Lord of Olympus. Zeus knew that fate, but which brings all things to pass, had decreed that a son should someday be born to him who would dethrone him and drive the gods from their home in heaven. Not only Prometheus knew who would be the mother, but only Prometheus knew who would be the mother of this son. As he lay bound upon the rock in agony, Zeus sent his messenger Hermes to bid him disclose the secret. Prometheus told him, "Go and persuade the sea wave not to break. You will persuade me no more easily." Hermes warned him that if he persisted in his stubborn silence, he should suffer still more terrible things. "An eagle red with blood shall come, a guest unbidden, to your banquet. All day long he will tear to rags your body, feasting in fury on the blackened liver. But nothing, no threat, nor torture would break Prometheus. His body was bound, but his spirit was free. He refused to submit to cruelty and tyranny. He knew that he had served Zeus well, and that he had done right to pity mortals in their helplessness. His suffering was utterly unjust, and he would not give in to brutal power, no matter at what cost. He told Hermes, "There is no force which can compel my speech. So let Zeus hurl his blazing bolts, and with the white wings of the snow, with thunder and with earthquake, confound the reeling world. None of all this will bend my will." Hermes, crying out, "Why, these are the ravings you may hear from madmen," left him to suffer what he must. Generations later, we know he was released, but why and how is not told clearly anywhere. There is a strange story that the centaur Chiron, though immortal, was willing to die for him, and that he was allowed to do so. When Hermes was urging Prometheus to give in to Zeus, he spoke of this, but in such a way as to make it seem an incredible sacrifice. Look for no ending to this agony until a god will freely suffer for you, will take on him your pain, and in your stead descend to where the sun is turned to darkness, the black depths of death. But Chiron did do this, and Zeus seems to have accepted him as a substitute. We are told, too, that Hercules slew the eagle and delivered Prometheus from his bonds, and that Zeus was willing to have this done. But why Zeus changed his mind, and whether Prometheus revealed the secret when he was freed, we do not know. One thing, however, is certain. In whatever way the two were reconciled, it was not Prometheus who yielded. His name has stood through all the centuries, from Greek days to our own, as that of the great rebel against injustice and authority of power. There is still another account of the creation of mankind. It is the story of the 5 ages men are descended from. In the story of the 5 ages, men are descended from the iron race. In the story of Prometheus, it is uncertain whether the men he saved from destruction belong to that race or the bronze race. Fire would have been as necessary to the one as to the other. In the 3rd story, men are descended from a race of stone. This story begins with the deluge. All over the earth, men grew so wicked that finally Zeus determined to destroy them. He decided to mingle storm and tempest over boundless earth and make an utter end of mortal man. He sent the flood. He called upon his brother, the god of the sea, to help him, and together with torrents of rain from heaven and rivers loosed upon the earth, the two drowned the land. The might of the water overwhelmed dark earth. Over the summits of the highest mountains, only towering Parnassus was not quite covered, and the bit of dry land on it was its very topmost peak was the means by which mankind escaped destruction. After it had rained enough, 9 days and 9 nights, there came drifting to that spot what looked to be a great wooden chest, but safe within it were 2 living human beings, a man and a woman. They were Deucalion and Pirtha. He, Prometheus' son, and she, his niece, the daughter of Epimetheus and Pandora. The wisest person in all the universe, Prometheus had well been able to protect his own family. He knew the flood would come, and he had bidden his son build the chest, store it with provisions, and embark in it with his wife. Fortunately, Zeus was not offended because the two were pious, faithful worshippers of the gods. And when the chest came to land and they got out to see no sign of life anywhere, only a wild waste of waters, Zeus pitied them and drained off the flood. Slowly, like a ebbing tide, the sea and the rivers drew back, and the earth was dry again. Pyrrha and Deucalion came down from Parnassus, the only living creatures in a dead world. They found a temple all slimy and moss-grown, but not quite in ruins, and there they gave thanks for their escape and prayed for help in their dreadful loneliness. They heard a voice. "Veil your heads and cast behind you the bones of your mother." The command struck them with horror. Pyrrha said, "We dare not do such a thing." Deucalion was forced to agree that she was right, but he tried to think out what might be behind the words, and suddenly he saw their meaning. "Earth is the mother of all," he told his wife. "Her bones are the stones. These we may cast behind us without doing wrong." So they did, and as the stones fell, they took human shape. They were called the Stone People, and they were a hard, enduring race, as was to be expected, and indeed as they had need to be, to rescue the earth from the desolation left by the flood. But, yeah. We'll end that episode on that piece, because then we'll be getting into a new chapter talking about the earliest heroes. So yeah, we've seen how the Earth is said to have how early mankind was said to have been presented to Earth. So, yeah, because there are so many people who were involved with the creation of Greek mythology, especially in the explanation of certain things. There's often different tales. So yeah. But yeah, we also are told the tale of Prometheus. You know, because he was a god, he was chained, and the eagle would eat out his liver every day, but it would grow back because, of course, he was immortal, and so it was just a punishment. So yeah. And we also talk about Pandora unleashing the evils upon mankind. It was not out of a malicious act, but solely the fact that she was curious. She wanted to know what was in this box they gave her. And when she saw the horrors that were being unleashed, she tried to close the box. But it was not in time. So yeah. But, as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.